Three, two, one.
Oh my gosh, that was so epic.
I think that's it.
There he is.
You guys ready? Let's pull it.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Oh. Hey! And JB's on there!
600!
600! Yes! Yay! 600 mile time. That would be just. So here we are, back with the real supercharger. Okay, we are on the test track.
So I'd recommend putting your head on the headrest.
Okay.
There he's ready. Nope.
Yep. Oh, there it goes. Oh, that never gets old either. We have the post-study production cars here.
Wait, what?
Yeah, oh yeah, you watch it.
Well, why is he gonna throw it?
I don't know, but we're gonna watch it.
Yeah.
Just use a sledgehammer. What?
Well, maybe that was a little too hard.
I'm Eric, otherwise known as Derek, here in Shanghai at Gigafactory 3.
Ballapalooza. It's like tricks.
3, 2, 1.
Will it wipe is the big question of the day.
Will it what?
Generic cornflakes.
Whoa! It's raining cornflakes! Oh. This is trippy. Look, there's nothing here.
Hello, everyone. Today is what? Is Wednesday, April 20th,
420.
2022, and we are here with what? The Q1 2022 financials and webcast from Tesla, which will be live from Austin, Texas,
trying to open up
in
a
about
journal.
a half an hour, supposedly. So, usually they start these closer to being on time than the Tesla events, such as the one that was recently held in Austin that Eric got to attend.
There we go. I was making sure we had audio.
But yeah, yeah. But anyways, we'll just chat a little bit and see what's going on in the world of Tesla here before the actual Q1 financials Webcast starts, and then we'll listen in on that. We'll be quiet so we can hear what they're saying, see if they kind of drop the F-bomb again. And
Yeah, hopefully Lars, well, you know what? Hopefully he does. Screw it. Who cares? I would not mind it. I think it's hilarious.
You're not wearing your hat.
It's over there. It's a long ways away.
Oh, well.
But anyway, hopefully Lars is there. Hopefully he says the F word again. I don't care. I thought it was hilarious, personally, and everyone in stream got a big kick out of it. Oh, supercharger light. Oh, no. Do you want to get the supercharger light?
No.
Diego pointed out that we need it for good luck.
Yes.
And I just spilled my drink, so.
Oh, no. Now we're officially ready.
Anywho, let's go over the shareholder deck. If you guys haven't had a chance to look at it, you just Google Tesla IR or go to ir.tesla.com. You can find it there. Anyway, though, let's go ahead and check it out. So, in all its glory. Big things, so we're just going to hit up like some of the big things. It goes into a lot more detail. If you want to see that, definitely just check it out. Biggest thing. Total debt, excluding vehicle and energy product financing, which is roughly $3.3 billion. Sounds like a lot, but they do some of their own financing. Is just under $100 million. It's like 88 million is their debt. Last I looked,
Wow.
actually, let's do this just for S&Gs. Ford debt, 138 billion.
Slightly more.
Oh my God. $138 billion in debt. And that was in 2021. It could be even worse. So huge props to Tesla. They have $18 billion in cash or equivalents in the bank, so that is definitely helpful. And I believe 1.2-ish billion is still their Bitcoin.
Oh, okay. Yep.
So they still have that investment. Let's see, profitability, 3.6 billion gap at a 19.2% overall operating margin, but automotive is 33% gap automotive, which is huge. And I have a feeling we'll get down to it in a few minutes, exactly why that is. But production deliveries from Berlin in March, and then Gigafactory, Texas in April. Kind of already knew that.
And it's good that those started up because we did hear there was, a problem there in Shanghai. They did have to shut down for like 25 days or something like that. So that caused them to lose out on perhaps like 50,000 vehicles being produced. But they have recently reopened at a limited level. I think it's only like one shift, and
Actually, keep talking. I gotta go grab something.
I think it's, from what I heard, is they have reopened, but it's a limited level that it's only like one shift per day instead of like 2 or 3. And I think I read that the employees actually have to live on site. And we do know that in the past they did have kind of like some apartments and stuff close to the Gigafactory there in Shanghai. We got to see those when we were out there back at the end of 2019. But I don't know if those apartments are still there because they've expanded the site greatly. Do you know the apartments are still in Shanghai? Or,
I don't know.
because I was telling them that they have to actually
I'll have to ask Jay.
They have to live on the factory for that shift that's currently working.
Really? Because that's like 9,000 people.
So they're basically in.
It's a lot of people.
But it's kind of like, well, I don't know. It's only, I don't know if it's all of them. It's like one shift, so it could be a third of those or something like that.
Oh, maybe.
But basically, they're kind of like doing isolation at the factory instead of staying in your apartment or flat, whatever, in the city and not being able to do anything. They're actually like, hey, you have a big enough place, you can go, but you have to live at the factory.
Yeah.
But at least they can get some cars output.
Definitely. So revenue. 81% year over year.
Increase, wow.
That's huge. Up to 18.8 billion year over year revenue impacted by growth in deliveries, increased average selling price, or ASP, and growth in other parts of the business. Profitability, income improved to 3.6 billion. Again, that 19.2 overall operating margin, still crazy.
This would be growth in other parts of the business.
And we're gonna get to this in a minute. Have something exciting. So profitability was impacted by growth in vehicle deliveries, increased ASP or average selling price, reduced COGS.
That's cost of goods sold for those of you who haven't taken accounting.
Yep. Lower stock-based compensation expense because Elon has already gotten a lot of that. Still a lot, I think, for him on the horizon too, though. Increase in regulatory credit sales. That's free money. Love that. Rising material costs, so that impacted negatively. Commodity, logistics, and expedite costs increase in operating expenses. Overall, though, they have 18 billion in cash and cash equivalents, so they were able to increase it by $300 million. Move that up so you guys can see that. And it was offset also by their debt repayments of 2.1 billion. So our total debt, excluding financing for energy product and vehicles, less than $100 million.
Wow.
Congrats, Tesla and everybody there. Deliveries, there's a great one. So we can see Model S and X in Q1 of last year.
Yeah.
We were at a big fat goose egg 0. We're up to 14,000 already. I think, what were we at, like, with the older models? With like 25, 30,000?
I don't know. I think it was still around there, but higher than 14,000. I mean,
Yeah.
that's still, it's better than what they were doing last year.
Yep. 3 and Y production is almost at 300,000 for Q1, which is a 61% increase year over year. Absolutely incredible. Total production 305, which overall is a 69% increase. And then deliveries were at a 68% increase of up to 310. And the one thing I did find very interesting, though, is on their regular press release, they actually say 3 and Y only account for 3% for leasing.
Yeah, like they don't offer
So
leases on those.
most people are just buying those, and now S and X was at 17%, which makes a little bit more sense if people use them for business expenses or whatever. But overall, only 4% were subject to lease. So that's kind of interesting. Let's see, solar deployed, 48 megawatts, which if you look, that's a negative
Gone down,
48%.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
Something to look at. Kind of a bummer. Now, global vehicle inventory days of supply are negative 63%.
3 days worth.
3 days worth.
Wow.
So very, very, very little, which is actually a good thing. You want to see that low. Means they're selling.
They don't have
everything.
thousands of cars just sitting on the lot waiting to
Exactly.
be sold.
Storage deployed was 846 megawatt hours, which is huge. That is a 90% increase year over year. But you can see kind of like mid and even end Q4 of 2021, they were up pretty high. So solar as well as energy storage seems like it could use a little bit of a push. Not gonna lie. Let's see. No, this is the one that everybody loves. It is up to 673 locations, 20% year over year. And
yeah, we saw that they're going to be adding that other location here in the Denver
In
metro
Aurora.
area. We did.
Well, it's already open.
We did lose one over there in Superior, but now they're adding one out east in the Aurora.
Yep.
So,
And
not that that's going to help the people up there, but it's nice to have more options.
it'll help alleviate Loveland, maybe.
Yeah. There's just
for
getting
people
more
up north.
options. Yeah, and I'm sure they're going to get Superior open one of these days. But right now they're currently demolishing that location.
Yep. And supercharger connectors are up 37% year over year. This time last year, we were at 24,500, and now we're at 33,600.
That's great to see, because I just did a road
Yes.
trip like last weekend, and well, I hadn't done a road trip in like 2 years on this highway, the stretch of I-70 across Kansas. You know, last time I went, or actually we went in the middle of last year when you had to go to Colby, remember? And we made that.
Oh, for the snakes.
Yeah, we took the Plaid. Was it the Plaid we
Plaid.
took out there? And there was like, we saw a car or two, but basically hardly any Teslas. But now when I was there on a Friday afternoon in the middle of Kansas, it was just like nonstop cars. Teslas were showing up and leaving, and so it's amazing how many more cars are on the road and using those superchargers. But they definitely need to expand. And cool thing is, I came back through and I was in Lyman, Colorado, and that's the last place to charge before I get home, and didn't see anything different. A couple days later, somebody posted pictures. It looks like they're maybe doubling or even tripling the size of that supercharger, and they're going to be making it V3, I'm sure. So it's going from like 6 stalls to maybe 12 or 18. So it'll be nice to get that one upgraded, and hopefully we'll be seeing the other ones. Some of these older locations, they built out the supercharger network several years ago, but they haven't expanded a lot of them, and they're still V2. So it'll be nice to see those V3 ones, but it's great to see they're doing like over 33% increase recently.
Yep. Okay, and also Diego said check out the stock price. We will have the stock ticker up here during the web call. And so yeah, we ended 51% or $51.
Up there.
Yeah, it's way up there.
I see. Yeah.
So we ended $51 down, and we have already after hours gone up $68.
Wow.
So goes to show you. So this is kind of like their vehicle capacity. So California, S and X, 100,000 for the year. So the $14,000 number is pretty low still. We need to get up to like 25K.
Yeah.
And then 3 and Y, 500,000. Shanghai, 450,000 plus. And Berlin and Texas are still early ramp, so it's going to be pretty minor.
But eventually, though, they just announced that they're going to be doing like 500,000 or so or more.
Yeah, well, so
in Texas,
huge
right?
thing here is last year later this year we expect Giga Texas to be able to produce Model Ys using both structural and non-structural.
Oh, wow, so both different body.
So they're going to be producing cars with 2170s until probably enough 4680s can be built, because it's going to take time for ramp and they don't want to wait that, so they will still be building 2170s out of Texas. That being said, the cars we saw at the party were all 4680s. I do know that. Let's see. Shanghai, weekly production rates were strong in Q1, minus the spike of COVID cases, which had a temporary shutdown. So limited production recently restarted. We continue to monitor the situation closely. We'll see how Shanghai does. But this is the great thing, is Tesla is in a great position to have how many? 1, 2, 3, like basically 4 car factories online right now. Yes, 2 are still ramping up, but between Fremont and Shanghai, they can kind of help offset each other. So like if Shanghai, when they were closed, I'm sure they tried diverting a lot of parts more towards Fremont during that time, so that maybe Fremont could push out a few more. And then you have Berlin here, so started in March with 2170s.
Kind of the same thing, because originally Elon said that they would only be doing the 4680s there, but again, if they have the 2170 cells and you don't want to delay things, get them building those vehicles there as well.
Yep, and so they say ultimately Gigafactory Berlin will be able to produce Model Ys using both structural and non-structural.
So the same as Austin then.
Yep, which is honestly kind of what we expected. A lot of people were hoping for something else, but it is what it is. Market share of Teslas per region, you can see everybody is on the up. So both US, Europe, and China, kind of all over the place. Everyone's trailing up. FSD, kind of the same thing. Customers in Canada started receiving it in March of 2022. Hopefully all FSD customers by end of year for at least the US, maybe Canada too, we'll have to see that. Different software, climate control modes, UI.
Speaking of which, we're glad we got the update that allows us to put those seat heater buttons and like the defroster and stuff back on the main screen, so you don't have to tap in a couple places to see that.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see, and then just kind of battery, powertrain, etc. Model 3 with LFP pack can still achieve a 267-mile EPA. And then here's some interesting graphs, which are kind of fun. Tesla vehicle gross orders in the US, the Super Bowl effect. The day after the Super Bowl, how much did Tesla spend at the Super Bowl this year?
I think 0.
0.
So is that because of the Hertz commercials or what?
Probably.
So because we know Hertz,
which is great,
to buy like 100,000.
Hertz is paying full price and is advertising for Tesla.
But it seems weird to me though that people would buy Tesla because they saw a Hertz commercial, but hey.
Well, it's not just that, it's also, I don't really know sports that much, but the guy who is representing Hertz.
Yeah, some football player.
Yeah. Somebody comment down below, don't judge me. But anyway, that guy, he's also endorsing Tesla indirectly.
Okay.
When you think about it, if he's endorsing Hertz and their Electrify deal with Tesla, then he's also endorsing Tesla. Tom Hambone. Don't think that's his name.
Oh, they're Tom.
Tom Brady. Okay, there we go. Let's see. Abstract Ocean in chat said, because of all the EV commercials and viewers thinking, ew, I'm reserving a Tesla. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the other EVs, they really help sell Tesla.
Especially when you see the price on them. It's like, well, we could spend this much money on something that's brand new that maybe looks okay, but it still only has two-thirds or half the range of a Tesla. Why not just get a Tesla?
Exactly. And then the other one is gap operating margin for all other car manufacturers. And then look at Tesla. Wow. What a beautiful chart. Energy storage. So they focus a lot on this whole year-over-year thing, not comparing it to the previous quarters individually. So it looks great, 90% year-over-year, but overall we're still pretty low. We need to bump that up. Same thing with solar.
Yeah, and it's probably just because with the supply chain and stuff like that, and we know that they're not building all their panels in Buffalo like they used to, so they're getting them from China and stuff like that. But with all the shortages and components and stuff, that's unfortunately decreased the amount of solar they could produce and sell.
Yep. Other things, Tesla insurance. So that actually did roll out in Colorado as well. We got a quote.
And a couple other states too. I heard.
We'll be doing a video on that, but Initially, it doesn't look like it's really going to save us anything compared to what we have now. We'll deep dive into the numbers in an actual video. But yeah, it was Colorado, Oregon, and Virginia, in addition to what they already have. So that's beautiful to see. And then services and other gross margins, right there. Let's see. So they're planning 50% average annual growth in vehicle deliveries year over year. And it will depend on our equipment capacity, operational efficiency, and capacity of the supply chain. Biggest thing right now that I took away from all this is supply chain. It kind of goes with every industry, though. Let's be real. And then they talk about how they have sufficient liquidity to fund pretty much everything. Obviously, I mean, they have 4 massive factories and only $100 million in debt with $18 billion in the bank.
It'll be interesting.
Tesla's in an amazing position.
It'll be interesting to see where the next gigafactory will be, because they're not going to stop where they're so.
No way. Oh, I got the hiccups. Oh man. Okay. And then that's pretty much the gist from that. Then we get some cool photos from Berlin. First delivery is.
Das ist gut. Das ist sehr gut.
The sparklers.
Yeah.
And if you haven't seen their Berlin drone video, please go watch it. It's on their Twitter. I believe it's even on their YouTube.
Sehr gut.
It's an amazing. The drone footage is
ausgezeichnet.
Beautiful. Sure. I hope you're not cursing, but okay. And then from Cyber Rodeo, which honestly was an epic event.
Yeah, except for those words projected on the side of the building, they had an extra O on there, and I don't know why. But
Cyber Rodeo O.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
But other than that, it was pretty good.
Somebody got fired for that. But the one thing I did notice that's interesting is when we pulled up to this, there's no Tesla branding anywhere on the outside yet. It's nowhere.
Oh, wow.
So that was kind of interesting. But yeah, the building's huge. Everything was amazing.
Looks like it was the best event ever. And unfortunately, I didn't get to go to it, but Eric did.
I actually heard some rumors. It's still a rumor, but from some sources that it was like a $50 million party.
Wow.
Damn. Model Y body shop. Everything is just so clean. It's a brand new factory. It looks just gorgeous.
I wish they offered the silver car like that. Remember when they used to offer silver? But remember when the Model 3 was first unveiled?
Oh, with the matte silver?
They had like a matte silver.
That was real hot.
They should do that one.
Yeah. Okay, so here's a great one that I want to talk about a little bit. And this is called Simplification of the Vehicle Structure and Manufacturing. So when Model 3 first came out, it looked like the left. And was 171 pieces of metal that were riveted, welded,
just in those colored
attached.
Sections, yeah.
Exactly. It was a ton. And on the right, they took 171 pieces and have made it 2.
Wow. That's amazing, because I mean, if you look on the left, it's like, how's that 171? It seems like some of those could have been combined, but obviously they couldn't.
So it's kind of a catch-22. Now, when you are building something, it is generally easier to make smaller molds and parts. Because if something goes wrong, it's a little quicker to fix it and everything like that. And also just kind of like history. I think that's why everything has been so many pieces. But Tesla went out of their way and researched and got the biggest presses in the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, another thing that's weird about this, though, is they're comparing the Model 3 to the Model Y. So
well, I think this is where it initially started, and then they have worked progressively to this.
Yeah, so it'd be
Model
nice to
3
see
is going to get those as well.
It would be nice to see the Model Y, and see, that. So it's a true apples to apples comparison. But it is still impressive to see that they look very similar, but two different bodies, two different cars. But it's amazing they can reduce the number of parts that way.
It's absolutely fascinating to me what Tesla has done that nobody else has been able to replicate, or for all we know has even tried.
Yeah, like Elon said when they went to these the manufacturers of the machines, they're like 4 of them said no, it's impossible, and the other one said maybe, and they did.
But the cool thing is when I was actually at the Austin factory talking to employees, one of them that works on the battery line said they were trying to get stuff from a company that will remain unnamed, and that company was telling them that timeline is not possible. Tesla went and bought the company, and boom, the timeline happened. So you don't tell Tesla no, is the gist of it, because they'll just buy you and make it happen. Either way, it's gonna happen. So vehicle deliveries, some other charts, operating, net income, adjusted, key metrics. So like that stuff, and same thing with the rest of the financials. If you really want to get into the nitty gritty, definitely check that out. And again, it's ir.tesla.com, and you can just click everything right there. So that being said, we can go ahead and answer some questions for a few minutes, and we have roughly 6 minutes until the webcast. So real quick though, let me make sure I'm not showing anything. I did get this.
Oh yeah, this is one of those non-vehicle sales that Tesla's expanding into.
So, has it been used yet? No. Were we planning to use it? Yes.
Idea.
We got too busy though.
I don't know if you'd be up for this, but when I was in college, there's something that was really popular.
Are we gonna brand your butt?
No.
Okay, well, guess that wasn't popular when David was in college.
Well, no, it was like other places, but I wasn't.
Oh wow, okay.
It was branding though, yes.
Hold this for a second. So it comes with this card that says, hold on, no, don't get in there yet. I wanna focus on this for a sec. Tesla branding iron, and then on the back, not a toy.
Oh.
Keep out of reach of children. Use caution and protective equipment and clothing when using this product. Only use on burger, buns, food, and non-flammable materials. It does say buns. It does say buns. So
only problem is though is that due to the depth of it, you're gonna have a circle around it as well. I think it would have been nice to just have the Tesla logo. So therefore, I won't be branding any of my buns.
Anyway, it's kind of cool. It's a wooden handle. You can ASMR this.
Very sturdy.
I don't know. Would you call this brass? Machined brass?
Maybe.
I don't know how to use a brand.
You just heat it up really hot, and then
I'll have to YouTube how to use it.
Yeah.
But anyway, coming soon, we're gonna be branding crap. I don't know what yet.
buns.
Buns. We will be branding buns. Let me pull up this live stream here so that we can get everything ready to go.
Yes.
But
It's like it's.
anyone have any questions or anything they saw on the slide deck that they would like talk
Or just
about?
other Tesla news that we haven't talked about in the past few days.
That too.
I did see that somebody posted pictures from Giga Austin, and they showed there are like car carriers in the lot picking up Model Ys. So these could be the first 4680 Model Ys being delivered to non-Tesla employees.
I have a feeling it's still probably going to be Tesla employees for a little while. But they might be Tesla employees that aren't at
Yeah,
Austin.
I suppose that's possible. Let's see. Yes, away.
So we're just putting our earpieces in. Sorry. because this is how we're going to listen to the live stream while you listen to it on here. So as soon as they go live,
Hailing frequencies open, sir.
we will talk about it. But yeah, when the live stream goes on for the webcast from Tesla, we will mute ourselves. We'll just be in the corner, like right over here.
The food.
Oh yeah, we forgot the sushi. We were gonna eat sushi during the live stream. Anyway, we'll be muted, but we will be commenting in chat. So if you want to talk about something you're hearing, whether you like it, whether you think it's crazy, whether you think it's cool, whatever, go ahead and put it in chat, and we can talk about it there. We just don't want to interrupt that. And I guess we'll just kind of see how it goes. We'll have the live stream up, and then we'll have, here, I'll just kind of show you what it's going to look like. So the live stream's going to be here. We're going to have the stock ticker up here, and so that refreshes. Hopefully it's refreshing. Is it refreshing? Okay, there we go. So that's there, so we can see exactly where we're at. And then we also have the same questions pulled up for when they do their Q&A, so we can kind of follow along with all that. So, yeah, should be fun.
I haven't even looked at the same questions. I got the videos again.
Yeah.
There's a couple of them that try to do that. They're like the same question a million times over, and they don't solve
They don't
the
filter
question.
them out.
Ask people to give their opinion, what questions you want to hear. You got somebody kind of consolidated.
Yep.
And you think they could still have multiple questions. Don't answer it. You don't need to go over them if there's the same questions you think.
Yeah. So FYI, I do know that Tesla has some music right now on their live stream. We are not going to broadcast. Oh. No, it is doing it.
No. Uh-oh.
Well,
we
will
might have to
get
cut a
cut
few
off.
minutes out of the video here, but
Yeah. So I will turn their stuff back on, because normally it's all copyright stuff. So I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe we'll get copyright strike. YOLO. What's
so we might be missing a few minutes of audio here.
Yeah. Somebody said live stream bun branding.
Oh, yeah, we could do that.
Could we get kicked off of YouTube for that?
It depends on what kind of buns.
Oh, right. Let's see. Sorry for the music, but hey, you know what? If Tesla increased their volume for this, that actually would not be a bad thing, because normally it's always hard to hear. Let's see. Tesla Sweden said, hi, today I received notification that Model Ys are being delivered from Berlin, and that means we'll receive our Model Y in 2 months.
Ooh, congratulations.
Congrats.
Yeah.
That'll be awesome. Definitely tweet us photos of your cars. We'd love to see everyone's delivery. Roger said, it just so happens that one of my current rotating interests is now soy sauce, and I think you guys should get your hands on a bottle to go with your sushi.
Oh, sushi. Okay.
That's fine with me.
He's got a very special kishy board.
Yeah, I was going to say it, but
Okay.
I was totally going to mess that up.
Speaking of Roger, you should.
Oh, Roger and Amy, thank you.
Wonder.
I'm using my mug. Let's see. Diggy said, so they're going to start making Cybertrucks in October next year? That seems late.
Hopefully before then. Yeah, I don't know, but they did say 2023, so.
So it is 3:30, so it could be happening any minute now, but we do know Elon is notoriously late, and he will be on this call, so just FYI.
No, because I thought he wasn't going to be on, but then he came back, and so he's just going to be on from now on then?
Or he said he's going to be on calls when they have fun product releases.
Oh.
So could this
Maybe we'll
be...
see another robot.
Maybe we'll actually... Well, this is audio only.
Okay, so we're not going to see anything.
But maybe we'll finally hear more about... Oh, we're
here
up.
we go.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to Tesla's first quarter 2022 Q&A webcast. My name is Martin Vieca, VP of Investor Relations, and I'm joined today by Elon Musk, Zachary Kirkhorn, and a number of other executives. Our Q1 results were announced at about 3 p.m. Central Time in the update deck we published at the same link as this webcast. During this call, we will discuss our business outlook and make forward-looking statements. These comments are based on our predictions and expectations as of today. Actual events and results could differ materially due to a number of risks and uncertainties, including those mentioned in our most recent filings with the SEC. During the question and answer portion of today's call, please limit yourself to one question and one follow-up. Please use the raise hand button to join the question queue. Before we jump into Q&A, Zach will have some opening remarks. Zach?
Yeah, thanks, Martin. Just to start off here, Q1 was a challenging but extremely successful quarter for the company. Despite numerous supply interruptions, including shutdowns at our Shanghai factory and nearby suppliers due to COVID, we've continued making progress and achieved our best ever vehicle deliveries. Last quarter, we demonstrated a series of new financial records, including revenue, gross margins, operating margin, and bottom line profitability. GAAP automotive gross margin reached 32.9%, and for the first time exceeded 30% when excluding regulatory credits. Higher pricing continues to positively impact our financials as we make progress delivering cars in our growing backlog. Note that for most vehicles, our delivery wait times are quite long. Thus, cars delivered in Q1 generally carried pricing set in prior quarters and at levels lower than cars being ordered today. Our per unit vehicle costs increased as well. Inflation, raw material prices, expedites, and logistics costs continues to impact our cost structure. Factory shutdowns also occurred with little to no notice, hence we are unable to take action to plan those interruptions in a cost-efficient manner. Additionally, we saw a slight mix shift towards more profitable vehicles, including the Model Y. We also recognized a one-time benefit of $288 million from credit revenue relating to a regulatory change in the U.S. CAFE penalty, without of which credit revenue would have declined compared to the same period last year. The energy business has continued to be impacted by macro conditions more severely than the vehicle business. Our storage products are in need of chip supply, and new import processes have impacted supply of certain components for our solar systems, which is reflected in our solar volume for the quarter. OpEx as a percentage of revenue continues to reduce, driven by higher revenue, lower stock-based comp expense, and other items. As a result of our ongoing improvements in operating leverage, we achieved a record operating margin of over 19%. Note that commissioning costs for our factories are in R&D, as Berlin started production in late March and Austin in early April. These costs will be in automotive COGS going forward, given these factories are now producing customer sellable cars. Our free cash flows have remained quite strong, yet were impacted by working capital related to lower than planned production. Additionally, we have reduced our debt, excluding product financing, to nearly zero. Looking ahead in the immediate term, a few things to keep in mind for Q2. First, we've lost about a month of build volume out of our factory in Shanghai due to COVID-related shutdowns. Production is resuming at limited levels, and we're working to get back to full production as quickly as possible. This will impact total build and delivery volume in Q2. Second, as I've mentioned before, Austin and Berlin are just starting their ramps, and thus those inefficiencies will start to flow through our gross margins in Q2. Third, we do have higher ASPs in our backlog, which will help to offset some of these headwinds. We continue to drive towards further strengthening of our financials in the second half of the year and believe our 50% or above growth rate remains achievable for the year. I want to conclude by thanking the Tesla team, our suppliers, and our new customers for a great first quarter.
Thank you very much. And Elon has some opening remarks as well.
Sure. Some of my remarks will be redundant with Zach's, but it's maybe worth repeating. Q1 was once again a record quarter on many levels, reaching the highest deliveries, profit, and an operating margin of 19%. This was despite a lot of chip shortages, many logistics challenges, and an overall difficult quarter. So I'd really like to congratulate the Tesla team on achieving record profitability and output despite many difficult headwinds. And especially the Tesla China team and our Shanghai factory, they really had significant challenges due to the COVID shutdowns, and nonetheless have been able to output a tremendous number of high quality vehicles. And we are already back up and running with the Shanghai factory. So as Zach said, we remain confident of a 50% growth in vehicle production in 2022 versus 21. I think we actually have a reasonable shot at a 60% increase over last year. So let's see. Obviously, we began production, as people know, with Giga Berlin and Giga Texas in the past few months. So we're two fantastic factories with great teams, and they are ramping rapidly. Now, with new factories, the initial ramp always looks small, but it grows exponentially. So, but I have very high confidence in the teams in both factories, and we expect to ramp those initially slowly, but like I said, growing exponentially, with them achieving high volume by the end of this year. So let's see. We're also working on a new vehicle that I alluded to at the Giga Texas opening, which is a dedicated robotaxi that's highly optimized for autonomy, meaning it would not have steering wheel or pedals. And there are a number of other innovations around it that I think are quite exciting. But it's fundamentally optimized it's trying to achieve the lowest fully considered cost per mile or cost per kilometer, accounting everything. And so it's, I think, going to be a very powerful product where we aspire to reach volume production of that in 2024. So I think that really will be a massive driver of Tesla's growth. And we remain on track to reach volume production of the Cybertruck next year. Let's see. So it's basically, once again, I'd like to thank the Tesla employees for their hard work, but also I'd like to thank our suppliers who have really gone the extra mile. We have an amazing supplier group, and I just want to say a heartfelt thanks to the suppliers that have really worked day and night to ensure that Tesla is able to keep the factories running. And we're really at the early stage of our journey. We only crossed 1 million units in the past 12 months recently, and we aspire to head to 20 million units a year. So we're basically 5% along the way towards our goal. And but we're growing, very, very rapidly year over year, and remain confident of exceeding 50% annual growth for the foreseeable future, for basically several of the next years. I mean, so yeah. And then there's, of course, Optimus, which I was surprised that people did not realize the magnitude of the Optimus robot program. The importance of Optimus will become apparent in the coming years. Those who are insightful or listen carefully will understand that Optimus ultimately will be worth more than the car business, worth more than FSD. That's my firm belief. So, and then of course insurance is growing well. We expect to address the part shortages that limited our progress with batteries and solar. So we expect batteries and solar to also grow well this year. And basically the future is very exciting. I've never been more optimistic or excited about the Tesla's future than I am right now. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's go to first investor question. The first investor question is, Elon has historically provided FSD timelines with not optimal accuracy. We love its optimism for 2022 release, but is there any data Tesla can share with investors to help them make their own conclusions on progress being made, interventions per mile driven, or any other data?
Sure. Well, with respect to full self-driving, of any technology development I've ever been involved in, I've never really seen more kind of false dawns or where it seems like we're going to break through, but we don't, as I've seen in full self-driving. And ultimately, what it comes down to is that to solve full self-driving, you actually have to solve real-world artificial intelligence, which nobody has solved. The whole road system is made for biological neural nets and eyes, and so actually, when you think about it, in order to solve full self-driving, we have to solve neural nets and cameras to a degree of a capability that is on par with and really exceeds humans. I think we will achieve that this year. The best way to reach your own assessment is to join the Tesla Full Self-Driving Beta program, where we have over 100,000 people right now enrolled in that program, and we expect to broaden that significantly this year. So that's my recommendation: is join the Full Self-Driving Beta program and experience it for yourself, and take note of the rate of improvement with every release. And we put out a new release roughly every 2 weeks. And you'll see a little bit of 2 steps forward, 1 step back, but overall, the rate of improvement is incredibly quick. So that's my recommendation for reaching your own assessment is literally try it.
Thank you. The second question is, how much of an impact will the production shutdown in Shanghai have in Q2? What is the timeline for localizing the Model 3 in Europe, or will newer models be prioritized in Berlin?
Well, we did lose a lot of important days of production, and there are sort of upstream supplier challenges where a lot of suppliers also lost many days of production. But our Tesla Shanghai, Giga Shanghai, is coming back with a vengeance. So I think, notwithstanding new issues that arise, I think we will see record output per week from Giga Shanghai this quarter, albeit we are missing a couple of weeks. So that means that most likely vehicle production in Q2 will be similar to Q1, maybe slightly lower, but it's also possible we may pull a rabbit out of the hat and be slightly higher. But it's be call it roughly on par. But then Q3 and Q4 will be substantially higher. So it seems likely that we'll be able to produce over 1.5 million cars this year. That's my best guess. And then Model 3, it's important for new factories to be focused on and have the least amount of complexity and variation, which is why Giga Berlin, Giga Texas are focused on the Model Y. It's from the point at which you have a factory complete and you're making a small number of units to the point where it's producing high quality vehicles in volume is sort of 9 to 12 months from start of production. So now hopefully we're getting better at that ramp, so maybe it's a little less, but to get to sort of the 5,000 a week level is typically taken us around 12 months from start of production. So.
Thank you. The next question is, how much raw material exposure do you have, measured roughly in percentage of cost of goods sold, for example? in a given quarter versus 1 to 2 years out, both direct and indirect? Separately, how do you think about price increases versus prioritizing higher mix vehicles going forward?
Actually, on the price increase front, I should mention that it may seem like maybe we're being unreasonable about increasing the prices of our vehicles, given that we had record profitability this quarter. But the wait list for our vehicles is quite long, and some of the vehicles that people will order, the wait list extends into next year. So our prices of vehicles ordered now are really anticipating supplier and logistics cost growth that we're aware of or believe will happen over the next 6 to 12 months. So that's why we have the price increases today, because a car ordered today will arrive in some cases a year from now. So we have a very long wait list, and we're obviously not demand limited. We are production limited by very much production limited.
Raw material exposure?
Yeah, just to add to what Elon is saying, there's different ways to calculate raw material exposure. I think a simple way, we estimate we're around 10 to 15% of our cost structure exposed to raw materials. And just to clarify a couple of things on that. So we've been experiencing increases in costs in general, but also raw materials for a number of quarters now. That pace picked up in Q1, so last quarter. And what we're seeing for Q2 is slightly higher than that as well. And, as indices move, it doesn't impact us immediately or directly. In some cases, we have contracts with suppliers, but then as those contracts expire, we have to renegotiate them so that there can be a lag. In some cases, our contracts do directly reflect movement in commodity prices or raw material prices, but the timing in which that Tesla pays for that has a lag associated with it as well, based on the contract. And so, to Elon's point, what we're trying to do here, because it's quite an unprecedented situation of raw material movement and all of these various lags and uncertainty around renegotiating contracts, is we're trying to anticipate where things will go and make sure that the pricing that we have put in place at the time that those raw material cost increases hit us, that they align, and that the company can remain financially healthy in various scenarios as we look out over the next 4 quarters.
Okay, thank you very much. The next question is, why does Tesla continue to fight dealership laws on a state-by-state basis versus taking it federal? Separately, why isn't Tesla using 800-volt architecture in its vehicles? What are the advantages or disadvantages?
Sure. Well, from Tesla's standpoint, obviously, we'd love to have federal legislation that allows direct sales in all states, but we have not seen willingness on the part of the Congress to enact such laws that would override state laws. So, unfortunately, we have to fight it on a state-by-state basis. And Drew, do you want to answer the 800-volt question?
Yeah, sure. On the 800-volt thing, yeah. So it's really a case-by-case thing for the smaller platform vehicles like 3 and Y. There's some wins and losses with 800 volts. Not everything is better. And so we look at that platform, and we're not like ignoring the reality that you could go to a higher voltage, but there's nothing really encouraging us to do so on that platform. It's really about mass and power, and as you look at bigger vehicles, there are some advantages on those bigger vehicles.
Yeah, I would just quantify that basically, like, our estimate is that going from 400 to 800 volts might save $100.
Yep.
It's not really moving the needle.
And you're changing many things.
Yes, exactly.
From the charging infrastructure all the way through the entire vehicle system.
Yes.
To get maybe $100.
Yes, exactly. So, in the US, you've got 110 volts household power or voltage, and then in your most parts of the world, you have like sort of 220. But really, it doesn't make that much of a difference, and appliances work pretty much as well, in say Europe as they do in the US.
Yeah.
So there's the advantages are small, and the cost is high. Like if you say like long term, like years from now, does it make sense to probably move to an 800 volt architecture? I said probably, but it really needs a very big vehicle volume to pay for all the costs of changing from 400 to 800 volts. And then you want to continue with the.
I was just going to say that 100 volts is also kind of like a spreadsheet exercise, right?
$100.
Sorry, $100 is roughly like a spreadsheet exercise. Like, that you have to get through the full program to the end to see that maybe it's been whittled away to 50 or less.
Yeah.
On bigger vehicles where you're talking about higher power on the charging side or higher power from the battery to the power electronics, or you need more torque, so the current requirements go up. There's a little bit more semiconductor and actual conductor savings of going to the higher voltage, and so we do consider that for Semi and Cybertruck. But for the 3Y platform where we've got everything running and the benefit is questionably small.
Yeah, it's basically zero for robotaxi.
Yeah, for robotaxi, it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So.
No, induction. No. Sorry. No, this. So I was. Ignore.
Sounds good.
Okay, let's go to the next question. Next question is, how are the current 4680s performing versus expectations set during the battery day in terms of expected range increase and dollars per kilowatt hour?
Yeah.
Yeah. We're working in all the areas we shared on battery day. And we have sort of consistent progress across all of those areas towards achieving the 5-year cost trajectory goals for the costs within our control. But we do not control all of the commodity costs. So, that's an exception I need to call out. Similar to Model 3, it will take us several years to get rate and yield to the point where everything that we've discussed is achieved. Our priority was on simplicity and scale during our initial 4680 and structural battery ramps. And as we attain our manufacturing goals, we will layer in new material technologies we are developing and higher range structural pack revisions.
I think maybe in a nutshell,
Sure.
I think probably it's fair to say that 4680 and structural pack will be competitive with the best alternatives later this year. And we think we'll exceed the best alternatives next year.
Yeah. I mean, we have some good existing proofs, right? Like we've built the facility here in Texas. Like we know how much we spent on capital equipment in the facility, and it's, more than 5x less than prior technology installations. So we're saving huge on CapEx, on utilities and personnel. We know what those loads are and how many people are needed to run what is basically in a highly automized factory. And we have massive reductions in both of those. So like the cost model is well understood. It's really about rate and yield, which will come in time, as Elon said, over the course of this year and next.
Yeah.
Thank you. And the next question is, how does Tesla plan to secure raw materials required to scale to extreme size?
Yeah, so this is something we think about quite a lot. It depends what extreme size means, but so certainly if you look at say the $5, $10, $20 million, $5, 10, 20 million vehicle levels, you really have to analyze the sort of macroeconomic, just like what is the tonnage of lithium that you need, of nickel, of iron phosphate, of graphite, separators, electrolytes, electrolyte. You really need to think of like just macro tonnage, and we need to think about this for the world as a whole, because we want to figure out what are limiting factors for accelerating the advent of a sustainable energy future, and whatever those limiting factors are, Tesla will take action on those limiting factors. So right now we think mining and refining lithium appears to be a limiting factor, and it certainly is responsible for quite a bit of cost growth in the cells. It's I think the single biggest cost growth item right now, certainly on a percentage basis. Although just for those who don't totally know this, the actual content of lithium in a lithium-ion cell is maybe around 2 or 3% of the cell. So
yeah, 5 kgs of car.
yeah, it's not 5 kilograms exactly. It's not it's called a lithium-ion cell, but by far the most expensive and heaviest item in the cell is the cathode. So that's the nickel or the iron phosphate. So we're looking carefully at all of the raw materials and trying to figure out how we can accelerate the total amount of raw materials needed to transition the world to sustainability. And I think we've got, we don't have enough time on this call to really go through all those details, but we are thinking about these things, and we think we'll have some exciting announcements in the months to come.
Yeah, one thing I want to call out is we're also committed to recycling at all of our cell factories. We're recycling 50 tons a week right now in Reno and ramping to 150 with all of that reclaimed material going directly back into our cathode supply chain. So we're looking at the beginning and end of life needs here.
Yeah.
And that's true. Since Reno, we built a Gigafactory, we started doing that with batteries. But as we built newer factories or vehicles, for example, Giga Texas here, where we are today, recycles all of its non-yielded or scrap aluminum from the stamping shop directly into the casting shop. We regrind any plastic that goes out. And so we're really concerned about raw materials, not just mining them and consuming them, but when we get them in the door, using all 100% of them.
Yeah, Lars, that's a great point. So we're installing sort of melt furnaces for aluminum, for the Model Y that we build here at Giga Texas has both a front and a rear body casting. So we're casting almost 2/3 of the body, and then it's high pressure die cast aluminum, so we can take both scrap from the casting machine and the gating that comes out and put that back, just really toss that back into the aluminum melting pot, and then, as Lars was saying, also take any stampings and any other aluminum scrap and also throw that in the melting pot. And in fact, we've also figured out that we can use wheels from practically any car.
Take your wheels.
Yeah. So we're going to be recycling the cast aluminum wheels from legacy gasoline cars as well, and throwing that in the melting pot for our aluminum cast body of Model Y, and also we'll be moving to the sort of cast front and rear body, in all vehicles over time. Well, actually, maybe not SX, but 3Y.
Thank you. At what rate do you expect Berlin and Austin to ramp relative to Shanghai? Are you able to leverage learnings from Shanghai, or are the processes substantially different in the new factories?
Ramp production faster than Shanghai because we have learned a lot, and we've now been through we have basically veteran teams that have seen the 3Y ramp, the Y ramp especially, in multiple locations, and we're obviously sharing what we've learned, and so it we don't want to get complacent or entitled, but this should be a faster ramp because we have learned more, and we've done a lot to simplify the production process of Model Y. That should lead us to a faster ramp in Texas and Berlin. Yeah.
We also have, because structural and casting, about 30% less robots. We expect to almost double the capacity for body, for example, reducing the number of robots, but doubling our capacity in a lot of areas.
Yeah, right. The body line for the structural pack is, and if you go structural pack and front and rear castings, the body shop is its body shop size drops by over 60% relative to the standard way of making a car.
And that tacks into general assembly and everything else because when we have the structural battery, the floor is the battery. We put the seats on the battery and then we put that in the car. So there's actually like between 10 and 15% less stations in GA because of the general assembly start. As well. So really, like I think about this in the way that we think about cars. If you're waiting for the best Tesla, you're going to be waiting forever. If you're waiting for our best factory, you're also going to be waiting forever because every new factory is better than the last one because we take all that learning so we throw it into.
Thank you. Next question is, at Cyber Rodeo, Elon mentioned that a futuristic driverless robotaxi vehicle is on the roadmap. When can we expect more details on the product offering to be unveiled? Is this something that people can own, or will this be only offered by Tesla as a service?
So I think we want to hold off on, we don't want to jump the gun on an exciting product announcement too much. So I think we'll aim to maybe do a product event for robotaxi next year and get into more detail. But we are aiming for volume production in 2024.
All right. And maybe the last question from investors is, what is the current run rate of 4680 cell production at Fremont and at Giga Texas? What do you expect run rates of 4680 to be in Fremont, at Giga Texas, or Berlin at the end of the year?
Well, Berlin is using the 2170 non-structural pack, so they're not constrained by 4680. They will transition to 4680 hopefully later this year, but current Berlin production does not require that. We also have, just as a risk mitigation, 2170 non-structural pack capability here at Giga Texas as well. But if things go according to plan, we will be in volume production with 4680, and sometime perhaps towards the end of the third quarter and certainly in the fourth quarter. That's accurate? True.
Yeah, and the other thing I would add is, like, with the China COVID shutdown and the semiconductor bottlenecks we had through Q4 and a little bit in Q1, we have sizable cell inventory at the moment and excess cells to support the 2022 volume targets you described. So that gives us the ability to be pretty deliberate in the 4680 ramp, where we can maximize the learning step by step, take engineering downtime to upgrade key pieces of equipment, and modify the structural pack design to improve reliability, all while achieving what you just said. So
yeah, if 4680 output is not a risk to achieving 1.5 million vehicles produced this year, but it would become a risk next year if we do not solve volume production by early 2023, but we're highly confident of doing so.
Thank you very much. Let's go to analyst questions now. The first question comes from Dan Levi from CSFB. Please go ahead and unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for taking the questions. First, maybe you can just talk through or address what some of the drivers of cost improvement were in the quarter. Was it just further improvements within Shanghai and Fremont? Anything around sort of ongoing Kaizen that you've talked about in the past? Maybe you could just talk through what you benefited from in the first quarter.
Sure. I mean, at a high level, cars produced in Shanghai do carry a lower cost structure than cars produced in Fremont. And so as our mix of cars shift towards Shanghai, the average cost is positively impacted by that. We're also seeing some progress in manufacturing efficiencies in Fremont, particularly on the S&X side, as volume improves there. Expedites has been a huge story for the company. Q4, we had massive amounts of expedites. Q1 was still quite large, but we did make progress bringing that down some.
To mention, kudos to the Fremont manufacturing team and our associates there, because we're achieving record output at Fremont.
Yeah, the Fremont team is doing a tremendous job.
Really
absolutely
back quarters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to underweight. Like you should, the expedite situation with the crazy logistics that occurred with COVID. I mean,
Yeah, and to Elon's point, the Fremont team and also the Shanghai team has been extremely dynamic with the unpredictable nature of our part arrivals, and our supply chain team, in particular, production planning portion of supply chain. We often get very little notice when there's part shortages coming, and it's kind of a scramble a couple days before that part is supposed to arrive to figure out how to get it here. And so the amount of Herculean effort that goes in to produce a quarter like Q1, and even the quarters before that, is absolutely immense. And so,
I mean, it's like there's a saying in the military, it's like amateurs talk about tactics, professionals talk about logistics when it comes to war.
yeah. So there were some inherent cost improvements, as I mentioned, but, there's also offsets that we've talked about previously on raw materials, commodities. Outbound logistics continues to remain a challenge, despite a ton of efforts to increase capacity there and bring those costs down.
Great.
And do you have a follow-up? Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, yes, thank you. Second question, one of the initial goals of Model 3 way back when was to have an EV that was affordable for a wide portion of the market. And, we know prices are much higher now, just given the supply constraints. Prices are higher for all other automakers. We know that there's inflation that you're battling through, and some of that needs to be passed through to the price of the vehicles. And you're going to be supply constrained for the foreseeable future, so it's sort of a moot point. But given the goal long-term of making EVs more widely available to the masses over time, how do you look at the progression of prices over time?
We absolutely want to make EVs as affordable as possible. It's been very difficult with the, I think inflation is at like a 40 or 50-year high. And I think the official numbers actually understate the true magnitude of inflation. So, and that inflation appears to be likely to continue for at least the remainder of this year. Is what when we're talking to suppliers are under severe cost pressure. So, and in some cases we're seeing suppliers request 20 to 30% cost increases for parts from last year to the end of this year. So there's a lot of cost pressure there. That's why we raised our prices, because when things are this uncertain with respect to inflation, if it's high, then we've got orders that go out a year or more in some cases, then we have to anticipate those cost increases. But I think especially with the robotaxi and autonomy, I think we will end up providing consumers with by far the lowest cost per mile of transport that they've ever experienced. With the robotaxi, like maybe 5 to 10 times lower cost per mile, it's really quite substantial.
And therefore accessible to everybody.
Yeah. I mean, looking at some of our projections, it would appear that a robotaxi ride will cost less than a bus ticket, a subsidized bus ticket, or subsidized subway ticket.
Thank you very much. Let's go to the next question from Rod Latch from Wolfe Research.
Hi, everybody. I'm trying to just parse out your comments about the inflation and constrained supply and battery feedstocks and the initiatives that you are working on internally to secure these materials. It sounds like you're optimistic about Tesla's ability to solve this for Tesla. Do you see this as a constraint on EV adoption more broadly?
Yeah, absolutely. The what's sort of keeping our costs down, at least in the short term, is that we have long-term contracts with suppliers, but those long-term contracts will obviously run out, and then we'll start to see potentially significant cost increases. But at a macro, sort of looking at the world as a whole and saying, okay, what does it take for Earth to transition to sustainable energy faster? It's fundamentally the fundamental limiting factor is the output of the cell, basically cell output. At what rate can lithium-ion cells increase the gigawatt hours per year? That is the fundamental limiting factor. So in order and that will move as fast as the slowest, least lucky element of the whole supply chain. Currently, we see that as being a challenge with lithium. And it's not that, to be clear, it's not that there's a shortage of lithium ore in the world. Lithium is present almost everywhere. It's a very common element. However, you still need to dig up the ore, dig up basically the spodumene or whatever the clay with the lithium, and then you need to go through a whole series of refinement steps, and that's a lot of industrial equipment that's needed to refine lithium ore to lithium that can be used as lithium hydroxide or lithium carbonate in the battery cell. So we think we're going to need to help the industry on this front. But the industry is growing fast, and I'd certainly, encourage entrepreneurs out there who are looking for opportunities to get into the lithium business. The lithium margins right now are practically software margins. I think it's something. Literally, I think there's a. Zach, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're seeing cases where the spot lithium price is 10 times higher than the cost of extraction. So not like we're talking 90% margins here. Can more people please get into the lithium business? Do you like minting money? Well, the lithium business is for you.
So interesting. So I guess we'll stay tuned to see what happens from that. My second question is, it's impressive to see just a modest increase in cost of goods sold per vehicle, given what we've seen in terms of commodities, actually. And from here, you have a lot of savings opportunities with 4680 cells and the cell manufacturing changes, the anode chemistry, structural packs, gigacastings. Are you suggesting that even those may not be sufficient to offset the inflation that you're seeing, and that you're going to need additional pricing as well, in addition to those specific initiatives that you've called out?
Well, we hope we don't need to increase the pricing further. The current pricing is anticipating what we think is the probable growth in costs. And if that growth in cost does not materialize, we actually may slightly reduce prices. So we don't currently anticipate making significant price increases. But obviously we don't control the macroeconomic environment. If governments keep printing vast amounts of money, and if there are not significant increases in lithium extraction and refinement and the other raw materials, such that everyone's competing for a limited amount of raw materials, then obviously that will drive prices to high levels. So if you have a crystal ball that can tell us what the future is going to be like, we'll adjust accordingly. But the current prices are the current prices are for a vehicle delivered in the future, like 6 to 12 months from now. So this is our best guess.
But I think if you zoom out, right, like as you said, our mission is to accelerate the transition to sustainable energy. So like, we are working with our existing suppliers and others to figure out how to grow all of these raw materials as quickly as possible to not slow down the transition.
Yeah.
And, whether that means we have to get directly involved in some cases or not comes down to the counterparty and their willingness to expand at the rate we think they should be able to expand. And that's similar to what we've done with everything else. Like, we built a gigafactory in Reno because it needed to be done.
Yeah.
And so like, we will do what needs to be done to not slow down the transition, and affordability is a goal, because if it's unaffordable, it's going to retard the growth of what is inherently a good thing. So we can't have that as an outcome.
Thank you. The next question comes from Pierre Ferragu from New Street Research.
Thanks. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Great. I'd like to ask you some questions about free cash flow. Do you so first, maybe in the long run, Elon, if you look at your performance and your growth model and your growth ambitions, I did the math very quick, and I see you guys sitting on $4 or maybe $500 billion of cash at the end of the decade. And I was wondering if it's something you have given some thoughts about.
But that might be like, if inflation keeps going crazy, $500 billion might be like, $20 billion today. I don't know. So, we'll see what $500 billion buys you in a decade, but it might be a lot less. So I don't know if we'll, that seems like a lot of cash. I don't know. We'll try to do something useful with it. I mean, Jack, I don't know. It's not a really high-class problem, that's for sure.
The way I think we have to take this one step at a time. And so, we have investments that are happening right now to get Austin and Berlin up and running. And then, as Elon mentioned, installing capacity for robotaxi production. And, there's some decisions that, as Elon alluded to, just, to share in the future about what the economic model looks like. What the economic model looks like for robotaxi. And so, the way Elon and I have discussed this is...
Let's just... Maybe just, everyone just mute if you're...
Yeah, so our focus is, to get to the point where robotaxis are on the road, Optimus is in use, get the economic model for that dialed in, and then evaluate, the size of cash flows at that point and make decisions then as to what's next.
Okay, Pierre, do you have a follow-up question?
Yes.
I think it
Okay. Let's move on.
All right. Let's go to the next one. The next question comes from Trip Chowdhury from Global Equity Research.
Thank you. Two questions I have. First is regarding the Cybertruck. And I was wondering, in terms of number of parts, how would Cybertruck compare with a traditional pickup truck in terms of number of parts? The second question I have is on Gigafactory Nevada Sparks. Will we have any production of vehicles in that factory, or all the future production will happen in Giga Austin? Thank you.
I'm not sure if we've actually done a comparison of Cybertruck parts versus regular truck parts. I mean, Lars?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to go down to depends on what you kind of part. We still have cells, and they're still 1,000 cells. But if we
that shouldn't count.
If we don't count that, the simplicity of our structure is significant versus a traditional, pickup truck or any other vehicle. As we've talked about, their giga castings, we save hundreds of man parts there.
I mean, the entire rear kind of half of the car is one casting.
And even still with the Cybertruck and the doors, for example, we have an exoskeleton design where the door is ready to take, and it takes all the side load from impact. So we really have we don't have the door reinforcements, we don't have the crash and shooting beams. So like, to your point, I haven't counted them because I don't often look back at old technologies to decide how well I'm doing. I check that once in a while, but in general, our architecture is always moving to reduce complexity, reduce parts, and reduce parts count. I would say, ignoring the battery cells, we were probably 20 to 30% less.
All right.
Okay. Thank you. Let's go to the next.
Nevada. Oh, Nevada. Oh, do we expect to expand? Yeah, we do expect to expand Giga Nevada. There's a lot of room for expansion there, and we do expect to increase output from Nevada. But the by far the biggest increase in output will be from Giga Texas.
Thank you very much. The next question comes from Alex Potter from Piper Sandler. Alex, can you hear us?
Yes. Hi, Martin. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, great. So first question I had was the extent to which other plants outside of China are insulated from any further upstream supply bottlenecks that we may have in China. Obviously, if this COVID lockdown thing gets out of hand, clearly that's going to continue impacting Shanghai. But is there a point at which it could actually also impact other facilities?
Yeah, if it were to continue, but there are some parts that are sourced in China that apply worldwide, and that would impact production elsewhere. But all indications are that we're out. Giga Shanghai is back in production at fairly high levels already, and so are our suppliers. So we don't think this is going to be a big deal.
Okay, thanks. Second question. Obviously, the higher profitability you guys have been able to experience over the last couple of quarters, a lot of that is reflecting sort of quote unquote real improvements. Another part of it is because we're no longer paying you, Elon, as much as we were. So I'm wondering, the extent to which you and the board are in the process of contemplating another one of these long-term compensation packages, which in the past have seemed to work out quite well. Thanks.
There are no discussions currently underway for incremental compensation for me.
Thank you. The next question comes from Colin Langham from Wells Fargo.
Oh, great. Do you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Just to follow up, sorry to keep going on the raw material issue on the battery side, but obviously seems pretty important. Yeah, how quickly can raw material supply be built? Because my understanding, it takes many years to build that out. So are we just sort of when do you think we see a lithium shortage or a nickel shortage? And is there even enough time to build that sort of mining capacity in place? And then related, how quickly can you switch to like LFP, for the nickel issue?
Yeah, I mean, I'll take the LFP question. And it says so in our letter, but like half of our products were LFP last quarter, which shows how quickly we were able to respond to, well, honestly, it wasn't because of a raw material shortage, but just because it seemed like the right thing to do. We could change our cathode chemistry. And there's more to be done on the cathode side, and we are actively pursuing it to give us substitution flexibility in response to market conditions between the other cathodes that are out there that can be competitive in our vehicles, of which there are many options. So we I guess what I would say is specifically on the cathode side, like flexibility is the way we're going to achieve this, and not all of the materials that go into cathodes are actually, first of all, hard to secure, like through mining or refining. And second of all, in many cases are like very plentiful already, like huge scale. And, if all of the batteries in the world use those cathodes, it's less than a 1% increase in total annual output. So that's the cathode side. I think Elon already spent a lot of time talking about lithium. It really depends on the resource. Some resources, like just getting rocks out of the ground, expanding the amount of rocks that you're getting out of the ground is, maybe a little bit of paperwork and some additional sort of blasting and trucking operations. The refining is is maybe where there's, it's a little bit more chunky to bring it online, but also the refining it's not like an oil refinery. It's a much smaller operation to refine lithium out of spodumene or liquid, like a brine or a salt pond evaporation. So, you're talking about a time scale of 1 to 2 years, and it's not like we haven't been talking to all of the lithium suppliers out there for many years. They have a lot of projects already in the pipeline to come online this year and next. Some of what's going on in the lithium market this year doesn't actually have truth to bear to the fundamentals of supply and demand, which is also a little frustrating. But yeah, if we look past this year or next year and into 2030, when we need 15 to 20 terawatt hours of this stuff to, get on the growth trajectory, stay on the growth trajectory we're on, we need everybody to do more in the lithium space than they currently are. I don't know if that answers the question.
Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you very much. So let's go to the last question from Mark Delaney from Goldman Sachs.
Yes, good afternoon, and thank you very much for taking the question. I was hoping you could comment on your latest thoughts about potentially opening up the charging network in the U.S. to non-Tesla owners. It's certainly really important to have a good experience for Tesla owners in terms of wait times at charging stalls. But if Tesla's able to have enough capacity, it could be a really good way to bring other vehicle owners into the Tesla network, perhaps help Tesla to sustain its network benefits and maybe make more people likely to buy Tesla vehicles in the future.
Yeah, as Elon has said, and as we've publicly committed, we do plan to provide third-party vehicle access in all over the world, not just in Europe, where our original pilot was. And we are working on solutions in North America, which is a little bit more problematic with our connector being different than others. But we are moving in that direction. I don't know if you want to add.
Yeah, I think there's not more to be said on that front. We want to do the right thing with respect to the whole system.
Mm-hmm. And we're going faster on adding chargers.
Absolutely.
Right? With the growth of the cars that we're producing and then anticipating what Drew is discussing, overall charger capacity is really important. And so the pace of our investments in supercharging has accelerated.
Absolutely.
Okay, that's helpful. And for my second question, could you share any more details on Tesla Insurance in particular as you're rolling it out in more states? Are there any metrics you can share on what take rates have been like, and how do profitability margins on the insurance offering compare to the corporate average? Thank you.
So we just launched Tesla Insurance for real-time insurance in Virginia, Colorado, and Oregon earlier this week. Maybe one stat that I'll share. So Texas is our longest standing real-time insurance market. But based upon the information that we have, Tesla is the second largest insurer of Teslas in the state of Texas. And possibly by the end of this quarter, maybe early next quarter, will be the largest insurer of Teslas. And so, the customer reception to this has been quite positive. And I was reading social media on Monday after we launched in the 3 new states. A lot of folks were reporting their stories of saving quite substantial amounts of money relative to their previous insurance. And so we're quite encouraged by that, and we're working as quickly as we can to get to 80% of customers having access to a Tesla insurance product by the end of this year in the United States, at which point we'll pivot our attention to expansion outside of the U.S. The other thing I'll say on insurance is with these 3 new states, the model is different because we are now the underwriter and we're also now holding the risk. And so with those states, we are a fully vertically integrated provider of insurance from systems and financials. With respect to the financials of the program, it's still very early. And so, as the program gets more scale, happy to share more information on that.
And one side note is that we are seeing that having real-time feedback for driving habits is actually resulting in Tesla owners driving the cars in a safer way. So, because they can see they get real-time feedback on, okay, this is affecting my insurance rate, or it isn't, and so when people can see a real-time score, and realize, oh, if I make the following changes in my driving habits, then I pay less in insurance. Then they have a very a real-time feedback loop for safer driving, and an incentive to do so. So it is actually, what we're seeing is it is causing people to drive their cars in a safer manner, which is also not good.
It's safer on average, what we see in the data, to Elon's point, and premiums are lower. We see that in the take rate data. We have extremely high retention for customers who experience the product. And I think I've talked about this in the past, but this has become a real passion program for us.
Yeah.
For these benefits, it's bigger than just the economics. We're trying to do a good thing here for our customers, save people money, and make the roads a little bit safer.
Yeah, I think it improves just overall macroeconomic efficiency. It's also a feedback loop for Tesla, because we see if there is a crash, large or small, we sort of see exactly what that cost, and now we think about how can we change the design of the car or the software in order to minimize the probability of that accident. Because most accidents are minor, but how do we have those accidents occur less frequently, and how do we make the repair associated with that accident super fast? Like aspirationally, it'd be like same-day repair for a collision. Which is just night and day difference compared to sometimes having to wait for a month while insurance claims are settled and figured out, and because Tesla is also doing collision repair.
But yeah, the feedback loop is instant.
Yeah.
Right. So, we do claims management in-house. And so we receive the notification that there's an accident. We work to prepare the estimate. And we can, with the support of our customers, use our collision centers to do the repair.
Yeah.
And so it's, full end-to-end visibility and all of that. To Elon's point, we can then identify areas of cost inefficiency, feed those back to engineering teams or elsewhere, software teams, actually improve the product, which lowers the cost of insurance, improves reliability of the product. So it's a full circle.
Yeah, and it's basically the customer experience is just vastly better, because if there's an accident, there's no argument. We repair it immediately, and this is as compared to arguing with an insurance company and then a claims adjuster and then a collision repair center, and this can be a nightmare basically. So we want to try to turn a nightmare into a dream with Tesla Insurance.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have this quarter. So thank you very much for all your great questions, and we'll speak to you again in 3 months.
Thank you.
Okay, so long story short, that was fun. Nobody dropped the F word,
which is good, a little more family
so
friendly
time
today.
for me to do it. No, I'm just kidding. JK. I guess some of the biggest news. Let me see here. I was taking some notes. I was live tweeting too, so if you follow me there. Biggest things that we heard about. So robotaxi. Oh, sorry. Let me get David here so he can type in chat. Robotaxi. Production starting, volume production in 2024 should be unveiled next year. That's pretty big. I'm interested to see what that's gonna look like, because no steering wheel, no pedals. I mean, do you need a frunk and a trunk? No. It could literally be a box on wheels.
And that's what we were talking about during the call when they were talking about that. We're like, you could actually have a car that it looks the same front to back or whatever.
Yeah.
It could have 4-wheel steering. It could, because they don't need to make these aren't going to be like highway vehicles. I think they're going to be city vehicles around
Probably.
town. So they don't need to maybe be as ergonomic, or excuse me, as aerodynamic.
Yes, because they'll be low speed.
It's kind of be like a train car or something like that,
Yeah.
or a small train cars where you, like at the airport, that's automated, and you get in and maybe you hold on to a pole or a hand strap, or there's seats, of course, around there. But
it's
it could go either direction.
Yeah, and it'll probably be started in one of their boring tunnels, would be our guess.
Definitely easier to start off with the tunnels because those are very limited.
Only one vehicle on there,
Yeah.
and it's Teslas, so
you
they
don't
can
have to worry about.
communicate.
So I think, coding for that would be relatively.
They won't have to deal with human drivers, which, honestly, that's the issue.
And
For
there's-
any full
and there's
self-driving,
lots
it's
of-
human
and
drivers.
There's lots of places like the airports and stuff like
Yeah.
that, and even like some campuses have automated vehicles already.
Yeah.
So it'd be really easy on some of these closed circuits in boring tunnels to have those, and then I could see them going to other maybe closed campuses before going out to the real world. Everywhere.
Yeah, definitely. Other things, we heard a little bit more about Optimus and how Elon thought that it was kind of taken as like a big joke, but he really thinks that is going to be the future, and it's likely to be valued more than the vehicle business, which, to be honest, I actually agree with him on this.
Yeah, everybody could use a robot. I mean,
but it's not just that too. There's a lot of jobs out there that people just don't want to do, whether it's hazards or whether it's just very repetitive, so people tend to get injured. And I know the biggest thing I always hear from people is, but it's going to take my job.
They took our job.
But the thing is if robots take that job, there's bound to be other jobs and other markets that will open up. But there's a lot of jobs that people just don't want to do. Hold on, let me
the only thing is you don't
get rid of somebody.
The thing is you don't necessarily need like a humanoid-shaped robot. That would be good, but they could come out with other robots, all different shapes and sizes as well.
Yeah, but the great thing is this could do any job that's dangerous. And the nice thing is yes, robots can break down. I've actually talked about this at like my real job occasionally. Robots can break down, but for the most part, they're pretty solid once you get everything like working. So I honestly believe Optimus, if executed correctly, could amount to huge value, not just for Tesla, for any manufacturing job, for any kind of job that humans just don't want to do. I think it's huge. Whether or not the whole dancing thing was necessary, another story.
Yeah.
But we saw it, so it is what it is. What else was there? Elon early on said that it's likely they'll produce 1.5 million vehicles this year. He said don't really expect anything too big from Q2.
Yeah, just because of the
Shanghai.
Shanghai shutdown for a few weeks there, and we've heard estimates of like 50,000 vehicles were not produced during the shutdown. So that's going to affect the numbers. And Austin and Berlin are still getting ramped up, so they weren't able to make up for that.
Yes, but Shanghai is back with vengeance. So keep an eye out for my Twitter later for that fun photo that I was kind of working on during a live stream. But I definitely think that Q3 and Q4 are going to be knockout quarters. But that's one thing to keep in mind for investors is don't think Q2 is going to be as big as Q1. Keep that in mind. Plan for it.
Yeah.
Don't set yourself up. You never know, though. Yeah. Yes, there is a chance that they could pull the rabbit out of the hat, like Elon stated. But I like to prepare for the worst case and be surprised with the best case.
What's the stock ticker at now?
Oh, stock ticker as of right now.
When we started, it was about $60.
We're basically break even with this
for
morning.
today. Yeah, so it was down $50. Now it's back up 49. So it's not too bad.
But overall, like, I definitely think Q2 is probably not going to look the greatest. It is what it is, but we'll definitely make up for it. I say we, but Tesla, all you employees and everybody with an order will probably make that up later on in the year, barring nothing else like huge happens. But yeah, I think that was pretty much it. Let's see. Diego said, how long has Boston Dynamics been working on something like Elon talks about? Many, many years. Yeah, but they don't have the kind of money that Elon has, or the talent, I think. I mean,
They probably have talent,
They have
yeah.
talent. They just don't have a big team to be able to really put a ton of resources through. Because really, this is all like the automotive that's financing all this at this point.
Master plan.
So I agree Boston Dynamics hasn't really been able to accomplish anything this big of what Elon wants to, but at the same point they don't have the scale that Elon can provide. But maybe this is something that Boston Dynamics and Tesla, maybe Tesla buys Boston. Maybe.
Yeah. Who knows?
I mean, they do have a lot of really solid work that probably could help push Tesla bot or Optimus to the forefront a lot faster. Kevin, Colorado Model Y, said it creates lots of jobs programming them and maintaining them, etc. So yeah, it's really a shift
Until they can.
of jobs. So yes, you won't be on the line working where Optimus will be working. You'll be kind of off to the side, making sure it's doing what it should be, maintaining it and everything. That's a great point.
And I see Scott's talking about, well, everything's made for humans. I was talking about different robot shapes, such as like, say for picking cabbage. I saw a video the other day of all these workers picking cabbage. They're standing over, bent over.
Oh, yeah.
They're doing a really good job, but they're standing bent over all day long. You don't need to have a humanoid-shaped robot to pick vegetables and stuff like that. You could have one that's totally different shape for that. But yes, there are some places where yes, a humanoid robot would be a good idea.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of places where you could have totally different form factors.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Exactly. And I think the initial thing with Optimus is the humanoid one, but I definitely can see them branching out, just like you mentioned. You don't necessarily need something 5 feet tall when
you're picking stuff off the ground.
Exactly.
You don't need to want to bend over. But also, why stop with 2 arms? Why
True,
not 4?
give it 8.
It's 4 or 8, whatever.
Let's make Octopus Optimus. Say that 10 times fast and let me know how that works. But yeah, I think, I really feel that there's a huge growth area for that. I don't want them getting distracted with the vehicles or anything, but just saying. Let's see. Somebody said Boston Dynamics was owned by Google. They did have money. Somebody said they think it was recently sold to a Chinese company. Hyundai owns Boston Dynamics. Oh. And then somebody said Google owns it. I don't know. Somebody owns it. So Hyundai completes deal for controlling interest in Boston Dynamics. So Tesla probably not buying Boston Dynamics then. But still, like, I definitely feel Tesla could be at the forefront of that. They have a hell of a team behind them, and they have the capital. That's, I think, the biggest issue now, is when you're trying to develop something like that, you need capital. You're going to burn through it like crazy. Let's see. I think that's pretty much it. We'll probably go ahead and end it there. Huge thanks to everyone for hanging out. Really appreciate everybody. Thanks for having fun in the chat while the live stream was going. Really appreciate that. And as always, huge thanks to our channel sponsor, Abstract Ocean. If you haven't yet, check them out down below. Using code Tesla Inventory will get you 15% off of your first purchase. It's right here, right there. But yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll probably see you guys Sunday.
We could probably do a quick one on Sunday. Yeah, we got a few days.
Yeah, we'll see you guys on Sunday. And I think that's kind of it for now. Oh, you did have something to say about the Model X, though. You did write it there.
I did mention it in the chat there, but we are now at day 476 of waiting for our Model X. Not that we're...
For those of you counting, that's where we are at.
Yeah. Still says July, so...
Yeah, eventually. Anyway, we will see you all on Sunday.